Well. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Um, we're back. TAT Pod. Um, I was away for a week in Portugal, and a few of the guys were unavailable. So apologies for no podcasts when we were actually winning games. A few of my friends have told me I need to stay in Portugal because we won 2 out of 2 whilst I was there, and we've come back and we've lost to bottom of the league, Nottingham Forest, which for those guys who know me is a tough one to take for me personally because that's my city, that's where I live. I've got a lot of friends who support Forest. My phone is switched off right now because I can't bear to look at it. But we're going to talk about the game, where it went wrong, what happened, where we go from here, and I am joined once again by my good friend George. How are you, mate?
After that, not so well, but just living life, trying to be as positive as I can, and yeah, it was a tough one today.
Yeah, very, very tough one. Just before you guys, we go any further, make sure you're in our Sporting group chat, link down there in the description. They are sponsored. They sponsor this whole thing, so we can even do this on YouTube. They're an amazing brand, and yeah, we're all on there in the group chat, obviously giving our opinions right now. We're going to do player ratings in there. I think everyone, apart from maybe 2 players, are going to get pretty poor ratings, but we'll get on to it. And also smash that like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel, please. That would be very much appreciated. We are closing in on 300. So if you can do that, we would all appreciate it. But let's get straight into it, George. This lineup. Now, let me just change something real quick. To be honest, mate, I was never confident about this game. And a lot of my friends that support Forest are in group chats talking about the game beforehand. They were asking me, how can you not be confident about this game? And I was saying this when Thiago was actually rumored to be in the lineup because this lineup was floating around social media for a long time. And I wasn't confident even when Thiago was rumored in that lineup because there's no real focal point there up front. There's no, I don't know, like it just wasn't a lineup that really filled me with any confidence. And then as soon as Thiago was confirmed that he was missing because of his ear infection, and then I saw Curtis Jones come in, I was thinking, oh, I'll take a 1-0 all day long here because it's away from home. It's an early kickoff. Two things that Liverpool don't really respond well to at the minute, at least. Disjointed Liverpool team with no Diaz, no Nunes, no Jota. And I know there should still be enough in that side to go and beat Nottingham Forest comfortably. But we know how this team works. We know how reliant we are on certain individuals, and that's embarrassing, by the way. We'll get on to Thiago in a bit, but the fact that this team, this group of players, this manager, we are so reliant on whether Thiago Alcantara is available to play or not is crazy because he's got a crazy injury record, yet our win percentage is shocking when he's not playing. So we'll get on to that a bit later, mate. But when you saw the lineup, after Thiago was confirmed to be out, where was you at? Did you think we're going to win? Did you still think we'd be okay or what?
To be honest, on the same boat as you. I wasn't too confident just because so far this season we've either played with Carvalho or Harvey, either or, playing and starting. And then you have both of them playing, both young players, and they've played tons this season already. Then you have Curtis Jones coming back from a long layoff, who hasn't played much at all, really. I mean, he came out a little bit last match, but with those three, you kind of, like you mentioned, you lose that fear factor in a way. When you play against teams, and especially when you go away from home, you lose the fear factor. And I think no Diaz, no Nunes, those players are obviously no Thiago, like to control the whole game. It's a huge miss. So was I confident? I would say no. Obviously, I still hope for us to win the game, and like you mentioned, we should be able to still win games without maybe one or two players like that. We shouldn't have to rely on one or two players to win us games. But in reality, that's where we are now. Uh, Now, in a few years' time, when we talk about Fabio Carvalho and Harvey Elliott, we'll be talking about different things, right? Like they're young players, so they're just coming onto the scene. Harvey's done amazing. Fabio's done brilliant as well. It's just when you go away from home and you just don't have the fear factor when those two play, when they're both starting. And also, Harvey, is as good as he is on the ball, he doesn't have any real pace. Firmino doesn't have any pace. You're only pretty much relying on Mo Salah with somewhat of pace to go in behind and kind of do something, in that sort of a way. So everything else is in front of Nottingham Forest when it comes to this lineup. There's no threat in behind, really. I didn't think we'll be playing anything in behind too much, and we really didn't. I mean, it was way too easy for them to defend us for most of the match.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get on to individual performances in a minute. I'm probably going to butcher your name, bro, but I'll give it a try. Abdul Wahab says that Fabinho was embarrassing. I think the whole midfield was poor. I personally think Harvey Elliott was one or two of our good players. I think he played well. But like you say, George, he's still not got that pace in him where he's just going to burst past players. And the players I'm more disappointed in today, and I hate saying this because I love him so much, but Virgil van Dijk, bro. How many chances do you need? This man should be scoring so many goals for us. The amount of balls we put onto his head. There was the one in the first half. Then there was about 3 in the second half. Like, they're free headers as well. They're not as if they're, the chances where it's gone like for a 50-50. We've literally put the ball onto his head. And that one where he tried to knock it down for Firmino, I was fuming. I just don't understand. You're 2 yards out from the goal. You're Virgil van Dijk. You're 6'4". You're a giant. Go for goal. Like, okay, he's trying to give Firmino an easier chance, but I don't think it was on. And when you're that close to goal, you've just got to take the chances. And he didn't, and we didn't today. It wasn't just him, by the way. There was a few more. But yeah, I just don't know where to begin with the performances, mate. Do you have anything to say with the players who particularly didn't play well, or that you think I don't even know, like they're going to drop for the next game, or
it's tough to pinpoint players that played to the standard. I think Harvey was the brightest of the bunch. Obviously Allison has been, I think, player of the season so far, and he's saved us in so many matches so far, and saved us again today in so many of like forced chances that they could have scored. But for me, this game was we were sloppy. I thought we kind of lacked the intensity. We didn't have the creativity to destroy those blocks of 4 that Nottingham Forest had, and everything was in front of Forest. We had no threat whatsoever. Maybe 1 or 2 times we played in between them, in between the lines, and we got in. And that was in the first half when Mo Salah had a shot with the left foot. It just kind of rolled towards Henderson, so he didn't really do too much. But it was far few. Like we just didn't have chances. There's no creativity. But for me, even like this whole game was sloppy, right? Like we can all agree to that. We weren't to our best, but we still could have won this game. We had chances to win this game. And for me, it's more about the decision making. Like you mentioned about Van Dijk, he could have had 3 goals. Van Dijk, 3 goals. At least, even if you're not going to score, at least test the keeper. You're 5 yards away. At least test the keeper. And then we had the chance with Mo Salah where he completely missed the ball, where he could have brought it down. And we can blame the sun, we can do all these things, but in the end of the day, it's just the decision making and those chances, those half chances that we had. They could have made a big difference. And maybe we score one of those Van Dijk chances, and then the intensity increases. Everybody gets motivated. Everything gets going. But it just, we could have had 4 to 5 goals, but despite playing so bad and so sloppy, just the decision making wasn't there. And you need the composure when you're in those situations, and we just didn't have any of that.
100%, mate. And I think you make a point about the pressure there. And I noticed in the last 20 minutes, we waited until the last 20 minutes to apply the pressure, and Forest were literally fighting for their lives. And I'm disappointed in Klopp today, to be honest, because for 2 reasons. One, I think he should have brought Trent on way earlier. At halftime, I was calling for Trent because it was glaringly obvious that we needed somebody that can actually find that killer ball, somebody that can play those defense splitting balls. There was nobody on that pitch that can do that. Not one player. I don't care how poor Trent's been in other games, whatever. He's been on the bench for a little bit now, bringing him back into the team. And we needed Trent way earlier, way earlier. You saw the quality of his deliveries and his corners when he came on. If we had him for 45 minutes, maybe he could have been the difference. we'll get on to Alisson in a minute. That we'll get on to Alisson. But the other reason why I'm disappointed in Klopp today, bitterness. I don't know if you've seen the quotes from him. He's basically saying Forest won because we gave them the chances and we didn't take ours. And I'm not going to praise a team where they give the other team 6 clear-cut chances. Like, yes, there might be some element of truth to that. But at the same time, I think you've just got to hold your hands up and say, for a team that's rock bottom of the Championship, that looks absolutely shocking, that is inevitably going to go down, I think, from this point, you've got to give them some credit because we couldn't break them down in the last, especially in the last 30 minutes or so. We were trying. They just camped in the box. Not that we made it difficult for them, to be fair, but you was just waiting for them to make one mistake and it never came. And Dean Henderson, on loan from Man United, you could see how much he wanted that win today. The amount of incredible saves he made was just ridiculous. And this seems to happen to us quite a lot. These goalkeepers that haven't been great all season, when they play against us, they turn into Manuel Neuer. And I think Dean Henderson was probably deserving of the man of the match today, in my opinion. But Alisson, I agree. I agree with this comment. I'm not saying we should sell Alisson. I'm not saying he should hand in a transfer request. But I agree. Alisson deserves more than this. At the minute, he's the only player worthy of any praise. Because if it's not for him today, we lose 2 or 3-0 to bottom of the league. Make no mistake about it. They had 2 or 3 really good opportunities where Alisson had to stand up tall and make the save. That one from, was it Ryan Yates, I think? I can't remember who it was. I don't know how he saved it. I'm still trying to figure out how he saved it. And this isn't just the first time this has happened with Ali. He's done it game in, game out, game in, game out. Even if we've lost games by a goal, he's made 2 or 3 crazy saves. And he's the best goalkeeper in the world. Oh, I think that's undisputed. The amount of times he saves us, the amount of times he keeps the scoreline down. Touching wood, if we had one more injury to the team and it's Alisson Becker, we're finished. We are finished. Finished. We could already be finished. This could be the kind of result that just plays on our mind a bit and just makes it get worse. But yeah, just talk to me about Alisson Becker, George. Where would we be without this man? Because for me, he's the best keeper I've ever seen, the best keeper for Liverpool, the best keeper our club's ever had, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, without Alisson, we'll be losing games 4-5-0. So, especially on the run that we've been in throughout the season so far, when we concede first and they get more and more chances, they get more, pumped up. And no, we're just without Alisson, we honestly our goal differential. I don't even know where it would be right now. Just the saves that he makes. It's not just any goalkeeper. No other goalkeeper in the Premier League. Maybe Ederson could potentially make those saves, but man, the amount of saves, the amount of times he's kept us in games, is just unbelievable. And I mentioned with Alisson, we're looking at 3-4-0 defeats, and obviously with those defeats, your confidence gets way worse than it will be now. And just I think he's the best goalkeeper in the world right now. I think he's been for quite a while. Good with his feet, the saves he makes. He has more assists than what Jack Grealish. So it's like like obviously the assists is one thing, but the saves, the reflexes, the distribution, he's the complete goalkeeper in my book. When it comes to goalkeepers, I don't think I've seen anybody quite like him in a very long time. Not just at Liverpool, but I mean, you look at all the best keepers around the world. It's yes, they can make saves, but can they distribute the ball just as good as him? No. Or can they distribute just as good as him, but they cannot make those saves that he makes? And he just kind of has everything put in one. So I'm just glad that he's at Liverpool. I'm glad that he's in top form. Like I said, player of the season for me so far.
Yeah, agreed. I feel that goes without saying. Yeah. Where do we go from here, mate? Because this was my worry. Like, we beat Man City. That's all well and good. You can get yourselves up for these big games. We have to make sure that, okay, if the results aren't there in other games, when we play Man City, we still have to make sure that we show we're still able to compete with them in one-off games. And that's what we did. We absolutely incredible that game. Going forward defensively, unreal. And then we followed it up with a win against West Ham. Similar thing, got the goal, defended brilliantly. So what's happened, George, in that time? I know we've had a lot of injuries since then. Jota's been out. Nunes is out. Thiago's got an ear infection. Hopefully, we'll be okay for Wednesday. I think that's what Klopp just said. Nunes and Thiago, that is, hopefully ready for Wednesday. But how is it you can do that against Man City and then go to bottom of the league and perform like that? What do you think's changed? Like, is it a mentality thing? Is it okay, you can fire yourselves up for the big games and then kind of be a bit arrogant towards the lesser sides, or what?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of everything. I mean, obviously, so many changes in the lineup today. We're as well as we played against Manchester City, and then follow up, 2-1-0 wins in a row, clean sheets, 2 clean sheets in a row. It's you would think that the confidence is back, but in reality, there's just so many games, and I don't want to make excuses because everybody's having to deal with those sort of things, but it comes back to the same exact thing. We get the injuries and we have to make changes. And then now we got to play Carvalho, Harvey, Curtis Jones. And when everybody else around is not in top form or not firing, it's very tough for those young guys to, fit in and do well. I mean, Harvey been one of our best players so far this season. So to put the amount of pressure on him, it shouldn't happen. And it goes back to what we're saying. We're relying on 2 or 3 individuals, 2 or 3 players to be winning games for us every single game. And we all know Thiago can't play every single game. That's we know that. Like, it's not something new. It's just what it is. Like, he's amazing, great fielder, one of the best midfielders in the world, but he cannot stay fit. And whether it's ear infection for today's game, or a little knock here, or a little pull here, or a month out with his hamstring, or whatever it is, he's gonna miss games. And I really do hope we can get on some sort of a run. And this was my hope after the Manchester City game. We get on some sort of a run up until the World Cup. We come back from the World Cup, we have 1 or 2 matches, and right away we sign somebody in the January transfer window. We have 1 or 2 signings that we just, that bring life back to this team, the squad, and then we can go on and hopefully.
Do you see that happening? Signing somebody?
I actually do. I really do think that in
Well,
January we'll be signing. So I don't know. Now, obviously, it's not going to be 100 million for somebody. I do think we're going to sign somebody in January, just because I think Jurgen Klopp has finally seen the light in the end of the tunnel, and like, he has to sign somebody. If Liverpool don't sign anybody in January, for me, we're just giving up on the Premier League season, and we're going to go fully concentrate on the Champions League. That's what it would signal to me, just because it's clear as day that we need Thiago playing nonstop. And when Thiago doesn't play, we just look a completely different team. Even when he came off last game, the last 15, 20 minutes or whenever he came off, we look completely different. We lost the battle in midfield. We lost the composure that we have. We just lost the game without him on the field. And I feel, Nunes is coming into light and coming into his own now. A lot of people had doubts about him, but he just needed time. And obviously the red card didn't help. His confidence dropped. It just took some time for him to get used to the Liverpool squad. And I think now we know what he's capable of. But it doesn't help now that we lost Jota for a long time. Diaz is out for a long time. Like, all these things, I know we keep coming back to injuries, but you have Nunes is not firing, Jota comes back, and we're happy with Jota, just because Nunes is not doing well. Now Jota's out, Nunes is back in, and now we're happy Nunes is in. Imagine if something happened to Mo Salah today when he went down. What do we do? Like, at that point, like, we just, we have so many players, but at this point the season does seem cursed, to where we cannot get everybody fit at the same time and firing at the same time. We're relying on 1 or 2 players to save us, and that's just the reality for me for now. And even if we would have got a draw today, I would have said, okay, it's not a loss. I know we should be winning those games, but with the lineup we put out, as we both said, I didn't feel confident at all, just because we're missing key players, and the attacking options on the bench were Chamberlain, who he came on, and I honestly did not. Did he even touch the ball? I know he had the one cross, but that was about it. So, and it's not a knock on him, because he's been out for such a long time and he's had injury issues. So it's just, again, one thing after another. One player comes back, another one goes out. One player comes back, another one goes out, and we're just mixing them up like that.
Yeah, and it's true what you say about Ox as well, because football is such a fickle sport. And at half time, when some people thought Curtis Jones wasn't playing well at all, they were begging for Oxlade-Chamberlain to come on. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, you guys have literally been calling this man every name under the sun for the last year, and now all of a sudden you want him to come on to change the game. And like you say, he came on, didn't do anything. And you're right. It's crazy because we have all these injuries. We know that we should still have enough to go and beat Forest, and I think any other team would. But we know for whatever reason, when there's certain players missing for our team, we're doomed. And it wasn't just Thiago today. I think Luis Diaz was a massive miss. There was no one in that front three that was going to take the game to Forest defenders. Mo Salah anonymous. Fabio Carvalho didn't really do much, even though he was playing on the left. Harvey Elliott was probably the most busy one out of all of them. So we don't have any players that's going to be direct at the defence, and not just for this game, for the next few games, because they're both out. I think Diaz is coming back after the World Cup, but I think Jota, it's not looking good for him. It's not sounding good for him. Klopp used that famous phrase when he said, we'll wait for him like a good wife when her husband goes to prison. And he said that about Virgil van Dijk when he did his ACL, and he said it about Harvey Elliott. So look, it's not sounding good for Diogo, and it's a shame, really, because I just want to touch on Tony's comment here just real quickly about the new system. What we saw Jota in his new position, I really was liking it. You know, he was just behind the striker, showing exactly what he can do, and his all-round game is often been criticised by Liverpool fans, like his link-up plays, passing, his chance creation. But for those 2 or 3 games where he was playing a bit deeper behind the striker, almost in the Bobby role, he was thriving. He was doing really well, causing so many issues. And now we don't have him. We don't have Diaz. Nunes hopefully back for Wednesday. So, like you say, Mo Salah is literally it. And thankfully, he came out of that game okay. Well, we think he's come out of the game okay, because if he was out, you're probably looking at Bobby Clark, 18-year-old, 17-year-old on the bench, and people like that. So this does all come down to one thing, I believe: investment and recruitment. I don't want to get into too much of a debate right now, but we needed more in the window. I think we all know that. And I get heat a lot on my personal Twitter because people say, oh, you said we didn't need a midfielder. You said we didn't need this. I never said that. I said we needed the right midfielder, and I still stand by it. You know, just because you want us to bring in a midfielder for the numbers because they might have a better injury record, fine. But Gino Wijnaldum was fit for every single game of 2021 season. He was terrible. So just bringing in a number, I don't necessarily think would have fixed the position. We have numbers now. Look at Stefan Bajcetic on the bench. If all you want is numbers, fine, use one of them. I still stand by the fact that we needed the right player. And whether we should have done more to try and get that right player, of course, I know the argument, there's more players than Jude Bellingham and Tchouaméni available. 1,000,000% there is. But for whatever reason, they didn't sign anyone. I don't know why that is. I would have personally liked Ruben Neves from Wolves. He was the one where, on that last 2 or 3 days when it came out we were going to sign somebody, he was the one I really wanted, Ruben Neves. I think he would have been brilliant for us. But we ended up with Arthur on loan, who won't probably kick a ball for Liverpool. So, like you say, mate, I don't have much faith in these lot running the club right now, but hopefully we can just about get through to the World Cup. And then in the January window, we have to do something, one minimum, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Whether it's Moises Caicedo, I don't know. I don't know who it is, but I think he's a good player. But yeah, I don't know who's going to bring him. But like you say, let's just look at these fixtures, mate, because you make a good point. And I was on a preview stream yesterday for this game, and I looked at the Forest game, then Leeds, then Tottenham, then Southampton. There are fixtures before the World Cup in the Premier League, right? So Forest away, we lost. Leeds at home, Tottenham away, and Southampton away. Southampton at home, sorry. So I said yesterday on the stream, still wasn't confident about this game. The proof's there. Go and look back. I pretty much said bar for bar what's going to happen in this game, and I pretty much predicted how this game panned out. It's crazy, but yeah, I looked at those fixtures and said, if we can get on a run of form, the one there that you'd be a bit worried about is Tottenham away. But they're favourable fixtures on paper, aren't they? Really. So
Yeah.
I said, if we win this game tomorrow, and then we can go on a run of form. It's not happened yet. So what do you think needs to change, mate, to get us back on track and end the first half of the season in good spirits, so that when the World Cup does finish, we can come back and kind of start again and refresh?
Honestly, so now we have 3 remaining fixtures in the Premier League. We have the Leeds at home, Spurs away, and then Southampton at home. So realistically, out of the 9 points, at least 7 points, I would say, going into the World Cup, 7 out of the 9. Obviously, today was I won it, and I was expecting a win before I saw the lineup, and then obviously we already talked about that, but it just anything besides 7 out of 9 points, it's not going to be looking good for me, just because every other team up there is winning games. Like we're not talking about the Newcastles, we're not talking about the top 7. We're talking about the top 2. We're talking about Arsenal, Manchester City. That's what I've been looking at, and I've always said, for me, I never want to rule Liverpool out of the Premier League. Still challenging. A lot of people who give me stick on Twitter just because I still stand by what I've said, that I still think Liverpool are in the title race, and I still believe that there is a chance that we can get there. I think Manchester City and Arsenal are both very capable of dropping points. I know Arsenal seem invincible right now, and they seem absolutely amazing, but there's gonna be a point, a stretch of games where Arsenal start to struggle, and whether it's injuries or and everybody still has to play each other. Arsenal and Manchester City, they got to play each other, so there's still a lot of points to be played for. So if we can go into the World Cup break with around 10 to 12 points behind Arsenal somehow, and 7 to 9 points behind Manchester City, and we get our players back and possibly sign a player in January, I think we were down, what was it, 14 points last season, and we made that up. People, I know we like to live in the moment, and we're like, okay, we haven't had a good season. In the end of the day, before today's game, everybody was starting to be like, oh my God, we still might be able to challenge now. Oh my God, we beat Manchester City. We got two games, 2 wins, 2 clean sheets. We're only 7 points behind Manchester City. Like, things are looking up. Like, 7 points is not that big of a deal, So now we lose the game. Now we're all like, all right, we're done. We're finished. It's just very hard to step away and look at the big picture, because there's still so many games to be played. There's still so many points, and injuries can happen to any team at any moment. So to key players, if Haaland goes out, not that I'm wishing anything bad on Haaland, but if Haaland goes out, that Manchester City team, that's most, if not all, their goals gone. So, and no Jesus, no Sterling, like, they've sold off some of the players that would be willing to step in. So there's a lot of games to be played, and I know it's very hard to think about it in a positive way for Liverpool, but if we can get 7 out of the 9 points coming up from those 3 games, I think we're in decent shape to regroup, get away for a little bit, challenge, at least get into the top 4 in a comfortable manner. So that's where I stand. I know a lot of Liverpool fans would disagree and say title's gone. We're nowhere near that, and I would agree to an extent. Like, we're nowhere near the play that we've been in the past few years, and we're nowhere near of a win. We were only 7 points away from Manchester City. So, with all that being said, anybody can drop points. I think this is gonna be one of the, like, we're not going to see 90 points from any team. I don't think, like 95 points, 97, 98, whatever it was in the past few years from any team. And I think there's just so many games to be played.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what's going to happen. Like you say, I think the priority is just get back in the top 4 somehow. And then you look up the table, because even when we've been at our absolute best, Klopp has always said the aim at the start of the season is to finish top 4. Even last season, when the season before, or whatever, when we won the league, he said that the ambition was always the same: finish top 4 or aim for top 4. And then once you're in there, once you're looking good, then you look further up the table. So I think that's the first step. Just we have to do better against these kind of teams. it's fine. You can lose to your rival sides. I mean, last season we didn't beat any of our rivals. We didn't beat City. We didn't beat Chelsea. So those were the two teams at the start of the season anyway that people said were going for the title. So it's fine. You can drop points or lose games to them. But it's teams like Forest, bottom of the league. If you want to think about winning a title, there's just no way that you can drop points or lose to these. I mean, look at the other team that got promoted, Fulham. I mean, we beat Bournemouth 9-0, but we drew to Fulham as well. So it's a bit of a concern to me. I can't lie that, we're struggling so much against these newly promoted sides, especially a team like Forest, who, everyone's been talking about them. They've signed 20,000 players and they're not gelling. Well, they beat us today. So I don't know. It's a bit odd, but we're just going to end the stream here because, there's more games and stuff going on and Saturday and we've all got things to do. But what needs to happen for Ajax on Wednesday night, mate? What do you want to see now from this team? Who do you want to see play? Whatever. Is there anything you change?
I think we need to the formation, the tactics, the formation you want to call it. I think the 4-2-3-1 has worked really well, and I think with Nunes, and Thiago coming back into the lineup, hopefully, is it just gonna be a huge boost. Likely that we, Thiago in the pivot with Fabinho Henderson. I'm not sure which one he's gonna go with, but I would probably think that it's gonna be Henderson since Fabinho played today. But and then Nunes and Bobby, I think their link up has been great. I think Salah benefits from Nunes running in behind, and when Salah plays, technically in the tactics wise, he plays a little bit more wide on paper, but with Nunes and Bobby linking up through the middle, I think it creates a lot of space for him to come in a little bit more and play more narrow, close to Nunes. So I think that will benefit Salah. Like we saw today, there's absolutely no threat in behind, and every time we try to do a long ball, Salah's on his own. So I think he does benefit with somebody else running in behind and creating that space for him. But yeah, I just think with Nunes and with Thiago coming back into the lineup, that is going to be a huge change. And we need a result. That's just pretty much it. Like however you play, whatever you do, you need to get the result just to make sure we do go on to the to progress in the Champions League, because it's not looking that well in the Premier League. We're last today, so we want to make sure that we at least challenge in the Champions League. And if you do have a convincing win come this week against Ajax, things are looking a lot better for the Champions League. Then we're kind of pretty much through, and we can concentrate. Now the Champions League will resume after the World Cup break, so going to quarterfinals and semifinals and all that. But I just think the first step is get a result, no matter how you play, no matter what you do, just get a result against Ajax midweek, and we go from there. Just because in the end of the day, the result is the most important. We have to grind by, square by, whatever you want to call it. We just have to get the result. It doesn't matter how. It doesn't have to look pretty. We just need the result.
I agree, mate. 100%. Yeah, we just need to try to win the game, and that'll be fine because we'd basically be through with a game to spare. Tricky game though. Ajax, very tough game away from home. We only won last time with a late goal from Joe Matip, so I'm expecting a tough game. But yeah, like you say, mate, we just need to win. That's the most important thing. Get back into winning form. Just try and treat this game as a blip. It's a very big blip, a very embarrassing blip, but we can't dwell on it. We're playing every 3 days at the minute, so we can't sit around feeling sorry for ourselves. We have to just go again. That's all we can do, really. Shake ourselves down and just hopefully, we'll come out better against Ajax. But yeah, listen, thank you for watching. If you made it to this point, guys, the pods are going to be back regularly. There's a bit of a break because I was away and other people were doing different things, but we're back now. So make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and also join our Sporting group chat with the link in the description. And we'll see you guys next time. Take care, and we'll see you soon.